Welcome high school concurrent enrollment partners, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I'm Deborah Graham, the manager of e-learning testing services at Salt Lake Community College. My colleague PJ Mead is the coordinator of the college's Jordan Health Sciences Assessment Center. Together we will present information to help you set up and monitor your test environment and to carry out a successful exam administration.
This presentation will provide you with the information you need to administer a concurrent enrollment math final. Our goal is to provide standardized administration of these exams by replicating the conditions and procedures used at Salt Lake Community College. This helps protect the validity of the results, provides an equitable testing experience for all students taking the exam, and ultimately it ensures that our institution maintains its accreditation.
We'll cover how to set up a secure test environment, launch the exam including the pre-exam instructions, monitor and conclude the test. We'll also discuss ways to identify and respond to any test misconduct. Let's start with initial planning. First, you must consider your physical space needs and what's available at your school. Second, you'll need to identify one or more proctors, depending on the number of students, to oversee the exam administration. According to the College Board, you should have one proctor for every 25 students. Please note that to avoid even the appearance of conflict of interest, a teacher should not serve as proctor for his or her own class. Other school personnel, staff, and other teachers are suitable choices. They should review this training video and ask any questions they have prior to test day. Third, gather all the testing supplies needed for the exam. These items may include pencils, authorized calculators, scratch paper, and be sure to find out how and when the exam itself will be made available to you.
Let's talk about choosing a suitable testing room. You or the designated proctor are responsible to identify and reserve a testing room that is quiet, comfortable, well lit, and safe. Additionally, the room should be large enough to afford generous spacing between seats and away from other classrooms or busy areas to prevent noise distraction. If possible, there should be no PA announcements or class bells during this final exam testing. The testing room should also have space for students to store belongings away from their testing desks. This might be in front of the room, up against the wall. Make sure that the room is clear of visible reference materials, including anything on bulletin boards or walls that could inadvertently assist the test taker. Finally, the chosen room should have an accurate clock that is visible to all test takers.
Let's move on to student arrival on test day. Of course, only students authorized to test are allowed in the testing room. Be sure to have a method to verify which students are authorized to test. For example, this could be done using a class roster and having students show their photo ID card. That may not be necessary if the students are personally known to the proctor. Or another option is to enlist the assistance of the class instructor in verifying student identity during admission to the room.
Once in the room, have the students place any belongings in the designated area, away from testing desks. Food and drinks are not allowed during testing. All electronic devices should be turned off and stored for the duration of the test. Belongings should not be accessed at any time during testing. Don't allow students to select their own seats, but rather randomly assign seats with as much space between them as possible. If the space allows, use every other seat in every other row.
It's ideal to provide all supplies required during the exam, such as pencils, scratch paper, and calculators. This eliminates the need for students to access items in their backpacks, etc. Before test day, be sure to familiarize yourself with a list of allowed items for the test being administered. Limit and number scratch paper so you can ensure that all sheets are collected when a student finishes. If students must use their own calculators, make sure the calculator is an authorized model and doesn't contain any written notes or information stored in memory.
A word here about test anxiety. It's relatively common, and for some students it can impair test performance. A proctor can reduce potential test anxiety by greeting students in a welcoming manner, responding to any problems as they occur, informing them of important information, and helping them in non-test related aspects of the process, for example, to secure personal belongings. So now on to exam launch. When all the students are seated, quiet, and ready to test, read aloud the test instructions. These instructions should include the amount of time allowed for the exam, a statement that there will be a 10-minute warning prior to the end of the test session, the location of extra pencils, a statement that the proctor cannot answer questions about exam content, and a statement that there will be no breaks during the test. Inform the students that they may not leave the testing room until they have completed and turned in their exam, as well as all related material and supplies. At this point, distribute the test and scratch paper and have students write their names on all pages of both before starting the test. Do make every effort to begin the test on time. Write the end time of the test on the blackboard if one is available.
Ideally, all students will be present, receive instructions, and begin testing at the same time. No student should be allowed to begin the test after another student has finished and left the room. School rules permitting, students who complete the test before the time limit has expired may, with the proctor's permission, leave once his or her test materials and supplies have been turned in and accounted for. If a proctor needs to speak to a student or school official in the testing room, both parties should maintain a low volume so as not to distract test takers. Conversations should be kept as brief as possible. To prevent misconduct, which is an unfortunate reality, continuous test taker surveillance is required throughout the duration of the exam. The most effective way for a proctor to deter test misconduct is to constantly look around and at frequent intervals walk around the room, actively observing the students. Though tempting, the proctor should not remain seated and engage in reading or other activities that distract him or her from actively monitoring students. A proctor may be required to deal with misconduct in its different forms. These forms may include a student helping another test taker in the room, a student looking at another student's paper, a student accessing information on a prohibited electronic device such as a cell phone or smartwatch, a student looking at concealed written notes, for an example, a note that may have been in the pocket of a hoodie or another article of clothing, or even written on the student's hand.
Some possible signs of misconduct are students who are shifting in their seats, say in an attempt to get a better view of another person's test, or students who are consistently looking elsewhere. They could be looking at another person's test or into their lap where they might have small note cards or a smartphone. Additionally, if a test taker is making a noise repeatedly, such as sighing, coughing, foot tapping, or pencil tapping, this could be a group misconduct tactic. If you observe any misconduct, end and collect the student's test and related materials and have the person leave the room. Document the misconduct by writing a brief account of the incident. Additionally, the proctor should document any other irregularities that occur during the test session. Examples of these are a fire alarm, a power outage, illness or medical emergency, or unauthorized person or persons entering the testing room, disruptive noise outside the testing room, or any other testing disturbances.
To conclude the exam, Make an announcement when the allotted time is expired. Make sure everyone stops writing. Methodically collect all remaining tests, scratch paper, and loan supplies. Do not allow materials to be passed down a row. Before releasing each student, make sure you have all pages of the test and any scratch paper that the student used. Attach the scratch paper to the student's exam and put all exams in alphabetical order. Finally, double-check that you have all tests that were administered and follow the instructions provided by the Concurrent Enrollment Math Liaison for securing the exams.
Thanks, PJ. Well, that covers the information we want to convey today. Much of what we've discussed is an attempt to balance the needs of security, standardization, and respectful and fair treatment of all test takers, whether they're testing at the college or in their respective high schools with you. On behalf of the Salt Lake Community College Math Department, Concurrent Enrollment Department, and Testing Services, we do thank you for your time and attention. The students that have worked so hard to learn the material and perform well will appreciate your efforts to provide a fair and secure testing experience.